The best commentaries from the last video.
It started the way most affairs do. Small changes, little red flags that didn't seem like much on their own but, together, painted an entirely different picture. My wife, Anna, had never been secretive before. She used to leave her phone on the counter, answer texts in front of me, and even asked me to reply to messages if she was busy. But then things changed. She started keeping her phone glued to her hand, even taking it to the bathroom. She'd smile at her screen, lost in some conversation, but when I asked what was funny, she'd just shrug and say, "Oh, nothing." Nothing? I wasn't the jealous type, but this wasn't normal. Then came the nights when she'd stay up late, sitting in the dim glow of her phone screen, typing away. When I'd wake up and ask what she was doing, she'd quickly turn it off and mumble, "Just scrolling." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But something didn't feel right. Then I noticed the money. We had a shared account, and one evening, while checking our finances, I saw something odd, several withdrawals, all labeled as bank transfers. Hundreds of dollars at first. Then thousands. It didn't make sense. Anna wasn't reckless with money. She wasn't the type to splurge without telling me. I asked her about it. She barely looked up. Just helping a friend out. That was a lie. I knew it in my gut. Something was happening. Something that would destroy our marriage. I just didn't realize yet that it wouldn't be another man that took her away from me. It would be a ghost. A lie. A fantasy she chose over reality. After that first red flag, I started paying closer attention. Not in a paranoid way, just watching. And the more I watched, the more things didn't add up. Anna became obsessed with her phone. Every ding, every buzz, and she was on it in an instant. Sometimes she'd smile softly, like she was reading something sweet. Other times she'd get this dreamy, distant look, like she was lost in some fairy tale. But the worst was the late-night calls. I'd wake up at 2 or 3 a.m. and see her sitting on the couch, phone pressed to her ear, whispering. At first, I convinced myself it was nothing. Maybe a friend, maybe just scrolling like she said. Then one night, I actually listened. I didn't mean to eavesdrop. I just woke up thirsty, went to get some water, and heard her in the living room. And what I heard made my skin crawl. "I miss you too." Pause. A soft giggle. "No, you always know the right things to say, you make me feel so special." I felt my stomach drop. That wasn't how you talk to a friend. I stepped forward, my pulse pounding in my ears. "Who are you talking to?" Anna nearly jumped out of her skin. She spun around, clutching her phone to her chest like I had just caught her in some criminal act. "Jesus, Daniel! You scared me!" She let out a nervous laugh, but her voice was shaky. "It's just a friend. A friend." At 3 a.m. Whispering sweet nothings. I crossed my arms. "Let me see your phone." She clutched it even tighter, her expression instantly defensive. "Seriously? You don't trust me?" I stared at her. "Should I?" Her jaw clenched, and she let out a frustrated sigh. "I'm just talking to someone who understands me." That was the moment I knew. It wasn't just emotional. It wasn't just some innocent friendship. Anna was falling for someone else. But I had no idea yet just how deep she had fallen. Anna's reaction that night didn't just confirm my suspicions, it sent me into full investigator mode. I didn't argue with her. I didn't beg for her phone. I just stared at her, let her fume about how I was being controlling, and then went back to bed. Because I knew one thing for sure now, she was hiding something. And I was going to find out exactly what it was. The next morning, when Anna left for work, I sat down at my laptop and pulled up our bank statements again. This time, I went deeper. Scrolling back over the last few months, I saw it, more transfers than I realized. Not just a few hundred here and there. We were talking thousands. Some in small amounts, 50 here, 75 there. But then there were the big ones, $500, $1,200, one for almost $4,000. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. Where the hell was this money going? I clicked on the transfer details. No names. Just a generic account number. Anna had never been reckless with spending before. So if she was sending money, it was because she thought she was getting something in return. I had a terrible, creeping feeling in my gut. This wasn't just cheating. This was something worse. That night, I waited until she fell asleep. I'd never been the type to snoop, but at this point, I needed answers. Her phone was charging on her nightstand, screen down, like always. I reached for it, my hands cold with nerves. Locked. Of course. But here's the thing, Anna wasn't careful. I had seen her enter her passcode 100 times. And after watching her for weeks, I knew she used the same code for everything. I typed it in. The phone unlocked. I took a deep breath and opened her messages. And that's when my entire world shifted. I expected to see messages from a coworker. Maybe some guy she had reconnected with. A real person. But that's not what I found. The conversation was with a random username, something weird and impersonal like EternalSoul_92. No profile picture. No real name. I scrolled up. The text stretched back for months. And they weren't normal. Anna wasn't just flirting, she was pouring her soul out. You're the only one who truly understands me. I don't know how I lived before you. I feel like you're my soulmate. Like we've known each other in past lives. I love you. I love you. My breath hitched. I kept scrolling. I want to be with you forever. I wish I could hold you. I just sent you the money, baby. Let me know if you got it. I froze. She was sending money. To this stranger. My hands shook as I switched to the payment app on her phone. And there it was, every single transfer. She had sent this person over $15,000. $15,000. To someone she had never met. To someone who didn't even have a real name. To someone who was obviously scamming her. My stomach turned. My head spun. Anna wasn't just cheating. She was being catfished. She had fallen for someone who didn't even exist. And the worst part? She probably didn't even realize it. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there, phone in hand, staring at the screen, scrolling through message after message of my wife falling in love with a person who wasn't even real. The texts weren't just flirty. They were deep. Emotional. She told this faceless username things she had never even told me. She talked about her childhood traumas, her fears, her dreams, how lost she felt in life. And every time, this scammer, whoever they were, fed her exactly what she wanted to hear. You're special. You deserve to be loved the right way. One day, we'll be together forever. And that was all it took. That was all it took for her to send them thousands of dollars. She wasn't just cheating. She was investing in a fantasy. And I had to find out just how far gone she was. The next morning, I went about my routine like nothing was wrong. I kissed her goodbye. Told her I'd cook dinner. Even smiled when she said, "Love you," because I needed to see what she'd do when she thought no one was watching. I called in sick to work and stayed home. Then I logged into my laptop, opened her payment app, and checked for activity in real time. Sure enough, around lunchtime, she sent another $500. To a person she had never met. That was it. I had seen enough. That night, I waited until she got comfortable on the couch, scrolling through her phone like she always did. Then I sat down across from her, set my laptop on the table, and pulled up everything. Her messages. The payment history. Screenshots of the exact words she had sent to a complete stranger. She blinked, confused, until she saw the screen. Then her face drained of color. "Anna," I said, my voice eerily calm. "Who the hell is EternalSoul_92? Silence. Her fingers tightened around her phone. Where did you get that?" I laughed, actually laughed. "Seriously? That's your first concern? Not how the hell you got scammed into sending our money to some random stranger?" Her lips parted, but no words came out. I leaned forward. So, tell me, how long have you been in love with this person? She flinched at the word love. That confirmed it. I tilted my head. You do realize they're not real, right? That this is a scam? And then, she did something I didn't expect. She got angry. Her whole expression twisted, and she clutched her phone like it was me trying to steal something from her. You don't understand, she snapped. He loves me. My stomach dropped. She wasn't in denial about the cheating. She was in denial about reality. This wasn't just an affair. This was a delusion. And for the first time, I realized I might not be able to pull her out of it. I stared at her, trying to process what I had just heard. He loves me. Not I made a mistake. Not I got scammed. No. She believed it. My wife, an intelligent, capable woman, had fallen so deep into this fantasy that she genuinely thought this faceless stranger on the internet cared about her. And worse, she was defending him. I let out a slow breath, trying to keep my voice steady. Anna, listen to yourself. You don't even know who this person is. She shook her head, gripping her phone like it was some kind of lifeline. You don't get it, Daniel. He understands me in ways you never have. I actually laughed. A bitter, hollow sound. Oh, does he? Is that before or after he asked you for $15,000? Her eyes flickered. I saw the hesitation. The tiny crack in her delusion. But she didn't back down. He's been through a lot. He needs help. I wanted to help him. I clenched my jaw, my patience hanging by a thread. You wanted to help him? You emptied our savings for some guy who won't even FaceTime you? That hit a nerve. She flinched but still held her ground. We've talked about that. He's private. He doesn't like video calls. I dragged a hand down my face. Jesus, Anna, do you hear yourself? That's what scammers do. They make excuses. They keep you hooked just long enough to milk you dry. She crossed her arms, her breathing shallow. You're just mad because I found someone who actually listens to me. That was it. That was the moment something inside me snapped. I grabbed my laptop and typed something in, my fingers moving fast. You know what, fine. Let's prove me wrong. Let's run a simple reverse image search on his profile picture. See if he's actually the man he says he is. Her entire body tensed. No. I froze. What? She gripped her phone tighter. I don't want to do that. I let out a humorless laugh. Why? Because you already know what I'm gonna find. She didn't answer. And that told me everything. She knew. Somewhere, deep down, she already knew she was being scammed. She just didn't want to face it. Because if she did, she'd have to admit she threw away our marriage for nothing. I stared at the woman I had loved for years, the woman I had built a life with, and I realized something terrifying. I wasn't just losing my wife to another man. I was losing her to a fantasy. And I had no idea how to bring her back. I closed my laptop, staring at her like I was seeing her for the first time. This wasn't just about the money. This wasn't even just about the betrayal. It was about who she had become. A woman so desperate for validation, so addicted to the fantasy, that she would rather believe in a faceless username than face the truth. I let out a slow breath, keeping my voice calm. Anna. You know this is a scam. She wouldn't look at me. Her grip on her phone tightened, knuckles turning white. I don't care, she muttered. I blinked. Excuse me? She finally looked up, her eyes wet but defiant. I don't care if it's real or not. The words hit me harder than anything else that had happened. She knew. She knew, and she was still choosing him. I leaned back in my chair, suddenly exhausted. So that's it, then? You'd rather live in some fantasy world than be here? With me? Silence. For the first time, she looked ashamed. But she still didn't answer. And that was my answer. I nodded slowly. All right. Her head snapped up, her lips parting. Wait, what do you mean, all right? I stood up, grabbing my phone. I mean, I'm done. She scrambled to her feet. Daniel, don't do this. I held up a hand, cutting her off. No, you did this, Anna. You made your choice. I gestured to her phone. And it wasn't me. Her face crumbled, but I didn't care. I walked to the bedroom, grabbed a suitcase, and started throwing my clothes in. She followed me, voice frantic now. Please, just listen. I turned on her so fast she actually flinched. Listen? I snapped. Listen to what, Anna? More lies? More excuses? More stories about how some random scammer on the internet understands you? Her eyes filled with tears. I didn't mean to hurt you. I let out a hollow laugh. You didn't mean to, huh? You drained our savings. Lied to my face. And the worst part? You'd rather keep living in the lie than face reality. I shook my head. So no. I'm not listening anymore. I zipped up my suitcase and walked past her. She grabbed my arm, desperation in her voice now. Where are you going? I yanked free. Anywhere but here. She choked back a sob. You can't just walk away. I stopped at the door, turning to her one last time. I already did. Then I walked out. And I didn't look back. Walking out of that house should have felt like freedom. Like breaking free from the nightmare that had been unraveling in front of me for months. But instead, all I felt was empty. I wasn't leaving my wife for another woman. I wasn't leaving her because we fought too much or fell out of love. I was leaving her because she had chosen to live in a lie. And I couldn't drag her back to reality. I checked into a cheap motel that night, staring at the ceiling, trying to process everything. My wife had thrown away our life together for someone who didn't even exist. Somewhere out there, a scammer was laughing. Sitting behind a computer screen, counting the money she had sent, probably moving on to the next victim. Meanwhile, Anna? She was probably still texting him. Still clinging to the delusion. Still believing that one day, he would come for her. I thought maybe, just maybe, leaving would snap her out of it. That the shock of losing me would make her realize how deep she had fallen. But I was wrong. The first few days, I didn't hear from her. Then, the messages started. At first, they were apologetic. I'm so sorry, please just talk to me. We can fix this. I love you, Daniel. Please don't throw everything away. I ignored them. I wasn't the one who had thrown our marriage away, she was. Then, the messages changed. You never cared about me. You're just jealous because someone else makes me happy. I should have left you years ago. That one almost made me laugh. Left me? For who? A username? A scammer? Then, the final message came. It doesn't matter. He's coming for me soon. I don't need you. I stared at the screen, my stomach twisting. She still believed it. Even after everything, even after I had exposed the scam, she was still waiting for him. And that's when I knew she was too far gone. I wasn't just losing my wife. She had already lost herself. I sat there, staring at my phone, reading that last message over and over again. He's coming for me soon. She still believed it. Even after I walked out. Even after I showed her the proof. Even after I begged her to see reality. She had made her choice. And it wasn't me. For a brief moment, I considered responding. Telling her one last time that this man wasn't real, that she was being used, that she was throwing her entire life away for nothing. But what would be the point? She wasn't listening. She never listened. Instead, I blocked her number. Not out of anger. Not out of spite. But because I was done. I had spent months trying to save someone who didn't want to be saved. And now, for the first time since this whole nightmare started, I was choosing me. A few weeks passed. I got my own place, focused on work, started rebuilding the life I had lost while I was busy chasing after her sanity. Then, one night, I got a call from an unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. It was her sister. Daniel, it's about Anna. My stomach dropped. What happened? A pause. Then a deep sigh. She drained her entire bank account. I clenched my jaw. How much? Her voice cracked. Everything. She sold her car. Took out a loan. It's all gone. I closed my eyes, the weight of it crashing down on me. She hadn't just lost me. She had lost everything. And the worst part? She still believed it was all worth it. Hearing Anna's sister say those words, "It's all gone," shouldn't have surprised me. But it did. Somewhere deep down, I guess I had hoped she would snap out of it. That after I left, after the silence, after watching her life crumble, she would wake up and see what was happening. Instead, she had doubled down. She had sold her car. Taken out loans. Given everything she had left to a man who didn't exist. I let out a slow breath. Where is she now? Her sister hesitated. At home. She's not doing great. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to say to that. What do you want me to do? I don't know, she admitted. She still talks about him like he's real. Like she's waiting for him. I thought maybe if you... No. My voice was firm. I tried, remember? I begged her to see the truth. She didn't want to. And now? This isn't my problem anymore. I could hear the exhaustion in her sister's voice. I know. I thought you should know. We hung up after that. I sat in silence, gripping my phone, feeling an emotion I couldn't quite place. Not guilt. Not regret. Just disbelief. She had nothing left. And she still thought this was real. I had seen people fall for scams before. I had heard stories. But to see it happen to someone you love? To watch them throw away everything, not just their money, but their grip on reality, was something else entirely. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I missed her. But because I finally understood. I hadn't left my wife. I had left a stranger. And there was nothing left of the woman I once knew. A few weeks passed. I moved on. Or at least I tried to. Anna? She stayed exactly where she was, waiting for a ghost. Then, one night I got an email. No subject line. No text. Just one attachment. A screenshot of a news article. At first, I didn't understand why someone had sent it to me. Then I saw the headline. Online romance scam exposed. Dozens of victims report being defrauded by international crime ring. And right there, in the middle of the article, was a familiar name. Eternal Soul _92. My stomach twisted as I read through the details. It wasn't just one scammer. It was a network. A group of criminals who had been running these scams for years, preying on vulnerable people, convincing them to send money to soulmates, who never existed. Thousands of victims. Millions of dollars stolen. And Anna? She had been just one of them. I closed my eyes, exhaling slowly. This was it. The truth. The undeniable, inescapable reality. The man she had thrown her life away for never existed. I thought about calling her. About sending her the article. But I didn't. Because I knew deep down that it wouldn't matter. She had already lost everything. Her money, her car, her dignity. And now? She had to face the one thing she had been running from all along. Reality. I took one last look at the article, then deleted the email. Because I was finally done. I had spent months trying to save her. Trying to wake her up. But you can't save someone who refuses to open their eyes. And as far as I was concerned, Anna had been gone for a long, long time. This wasn't my story anymore. It was hers. And she was the only one left to deal with the wreckage.